I would like to bring to the stage the president of WIZO, the World WIZO. I now call Anat Vidor to the stage, president of World WIZO. She has focused on strengthening WIZO as a global force for Jewish resilience, civilian strength, and dynamic Zionist leadership. She will be interviewed by Inbal Anbuskila of the Jerusalem Post. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you, Shana.
Shalom, shalom.
It is an honor for me to have you here, such a strong leadership woman in such a day like today. I want to start with the first question. You come from a very strong Zionist family. How did that inspire your leadership today in World Emunah? World WIZO.
Emunah is good too.
Yes.
Emunah is good too. But we are Women International Zionist Organization. So in reality, I have to say that both of them came from the same space. Zionism is in my backbones. I'm rarely, and it's very profound, like the heritage I have. I'm fifth generation Israeli, and I never thought about Zionism ever because Zionism was part of me. Everything that I did, I breathed Zionism. I didn't know much about it. We never discussed it. I was a kid in the 80s. Actually, in the 90s, the post-Zionist talks. In reality, it's very interesting when you grow up in a place and there is a gap also between the other student in class, because I remember kids in class were embarrassed to have their parents speaking because they had an accent. And I was fifth generation, so there was no accent. On the contrary, I lived in a town and the streets are named after my great-grandparents. I studied a Hebrew language that was revived by my great-grandparents. So I studied them in history books. I didn't have to go and do shorashim, avodat shorashim, or checking my roots. And in a way, it made me apathetic, indifferent, because I didn't know anything else exists. I never felt immigration blood in me or any feeling that I am unsafe, I'm a stranger to somewhere, or I have to prove where I'm at. I had no story to tell because the story was here. And on the other hand, WIZO is pretty much the same. I used to walk in Israel and I thought that WIZO is a government agency. I thought that WIZO is like Kupat Cholim because it's everywhere. I mean, you go here, there's WIZO. Everyone touched WIZO somehow. So it's probably a governmental institution. They were both very obvious for me. So in reality, what connects the both of them is actually, I'd say, the very shift in arriving to Australia. I arrived as a shlicha to Australia.
At what age was that?
Very young. I was straight after the army. And I arrived, and I remember for the first time, I met another Jew. Another Jew that doesn't behave like me. Now, what does it mean, doesn't behave like me? I think that even I had friends, and I see it today, you know, second generation Holocaust, so people who came from immigration. And I think that there's something when you grow somewhere, you have this agency in you. You know you're untouchable. The other person is a stranger. And I faced for the first time, anti-Semitism. I didn't look at it as anti-Semitism. I thought it's actually quite hilarious. I thought the guy is like, you know, as they say, they call it, you know, the blue collar, you know, a guy that fixes air conditioning. So what would he know when we says, oh, you're a Jewess, or you're quite volatile Jews? And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm volatile, you know, so.
And this was the first time you ever heard or felt anything to do with anti-Semitism?
I related it to some uneducated, provincial, sort of like, you know, a guy that hasn't been out of Australia or a guy that hasn't been out of America. I mean, poor things, you know what I mean? Never been out of their little state. And here I am, there's a little caddy here. Yeah, it's not going to happen, darling, you know. It's just not going to happen. So I thought all the time that that is something very strange. But what I did find also is the ability to say no. Jews that did not grow here and are not a sabre, and I believe in something very interesting. It's called emotional generational transfer I'm sure you're all aware of that. We do things like our great-great-grandparents.
Definitely.
Like we sit in a certain way, we probably do moves like that too, we're not aware of. They pass on. And that cockiness, resilience comes with it too. For me, on the other hand, also a deep sense of like, no way anyone is touching my country. No way. And I was so proud to say I'm Israeli everywhere. I used to go into confrontation even in unnecessary places. I just wanted someone to ask me if I'm Israeli. No one actually cared. But I just like, do you know where I'm from? And I just had to open this discussion. And it's quite interesting. And then I found that more intimidated person, not because he was attacked, and Australia was a paradise, but I found always no, like, if someone said to you, no, don't push, just stay in the system, stay in your lane. And today I call myself on my Instagram, unapologetic Zionist.
So without even knowing, you were preparing yourself for leading WIZO.
Probably, but you know what really got me to WIZO?
Yeah.
I'm competitive. Keren HaYesod got me into WIZO. Actually, I was believe it or not, but I was actually the chairperson in Keren HaYesod in Brisbane. And it's a volunteer position. And I knew WIZO all the time. And then I arrived to WIZO. I was not quite aware how big of a movement it is, a diaspora, 38 federations. We're talking about a massive Zionist movement. And when I got there, I said, well, I don't think anyone there knows what's happening here. That how big it is, because people said, oh, it's a great women organization, it does great things for women. And I'm just like, no, I think you're getting it wrong. It's run by women, but it's actually not only a women organization. This is the largest NGO in Israel by far. I mean, they do everything. They're like a government ministry. and to try to market, and it's very challenging, try to market something that big, get an elevator pitch for that, it's a hard one, but October 7th made it easier. Go on to the next question.
So if we talk about October 7th, I know that there's a lot of denial around the sexual crimes that happened on October 7th, and you have a very big role in bringing it into the UN. Tell us a little bit about your challenges.
Okay, so who cannot get furious about that? And you know, I study anti-Semitism. I even take a column in the Jerusalem Post, and I like to have a fetish. I call it Anti-Semite of the Week. I like to pick them up and take the mickey out of them. I like to take reels, like the most absurd things, you know.
A real warrior.
Yeah, no, I enjoy it, and it like takes the anger out. And then I like also to find the cynicism in it. It's hilarious. It's just like hilarious. If you look at it that way, you know, Jews have to have a sense of humor, okay? And then that actually brings me to the reality of this absurdness of everything. So now people like to say UN. But UN actually, you can play it up. They don't have to play us. We can play them. So it's one thing stepping into the UN and saying, we have been attacked. Oh my God, that and that happened. No one listens. Now it's a coalition. You have 122 independent states there since the 60s, and they ain't ever going to vote for Israel.
Yeah.
So if you want to change something in the UN, you can scream there. It's great. It's good release, you know. It's a good exercise for the morning. You can scream, get upset, you know, take your all anger there. At the end of the day, you want to change something, you have to be very strategic. So the acknowledgement of the 7th of October took 150 days. Some people say it's anti-Semitism. Yes, it is too. But I'll tell you what it is. When I found in researchers, it's not only anti-Semitism. What happened there was that no one could realize that sexual violence during war can happen in a state where there's a strong army, because you need time for that incident to happen. And if you compare other places that happen in Ukraine or Congo or Sudan, you're talking about deserted villages, and actually the perpetrators are the army themselves. And here you're talking about people that came from outside, and the army's supposed to defend them. So it actually didn't gel. It's not only anti-Semitism, it just didn't make sense to us, didn't make sense to them. Now, great, they acknowledge, now what do? Who's paying the price? We talk about accountability. So I'm very happy that Guterres says, we have a reason to believe there were sexual crimes. I don't care. Now what are you going to do about these bastards? Really, that's the situation. So there is a lot, you know, we talked about partnership all together, yeah? So there is a DINA project. I don't know if you've heard about the Dina Project, but they took it on from the beginning of the war to create whole data about the sexual violence and to prove it in the UN. They're amazing, amazing, amazing. Then there's a great lady called Chiran, and she has something called Generative Eye for Good. What she does, she takes evidence and she puts it into Avatar, but it's all verified by UN people. So it's actually, when you launch it, it's evidence because people can't speak. A lot of people died. So between these two and International Jewish Lawyers Association, we used our status. We had a status in the UN from 1959. I think everyone forgot it. But I thought, you know what? We can actually use it. But guess what? In Women Commission, Ma'amad Ha'isha, the Va'ada, the 8th of January, 8th of March, when we all celebrate. By the way, Women International Day for everyone here has been hijacked from Jews too. The UN stole it from us. It actually started in 1902 in America in sweatshops, 20,000 Jewish women demonstrating. So it's a Jewish thing. But still they stole that from us too. So you have that 2 weeks of circus of commission headed by totalitarian regimes. But then, in order to have a side event, you need another country to endorse you. And what's going to be your first question? Who are you going to go to? Israel. Napa. Wrong answer. Who's going to come to Israel? No one's going to come to Israel. So you need to find another country. So we have amazing women that do soft diplomacy for years. That's what WIZO does overseas. It's
These
not
are your partners around the world that help you, right?
The federations around the world, their first chore almost before fundraising to Israel is doing soft diplomacy. You know what soft diplomacy means? Keeping going, doors open when they're shut. So you go there with a solution and you get the checks to present it and you get the Ukraine lawyers to come and you get the Congo women to come and you get there all the other countries to come, and then they listen, and there is a roadmap. We choose the work for them, and we show them this is how you can trial these buggers. Anyway, so they took it. Now, think about it also logically. Any mission, UK mission, Australia mission, Ireland mission, they don't care taking a ready essay well crafted by Sharon Zagagi Pinchas, that was the head prosecutor for the army, and Kadari, Professor Ruth Kadari. What do they care? The job has been done. They could just take it and present it. They look good, we look good, Ukrainians get justice, Congo gets justice, and we get justice. And that's how to work. Just politics. Yeah.
Anat, I wish I had more time, but I want to thank you for everything you're doing for women, for the country of Israel, everything that's WIZO is doing. Really, thank you so much for joining us.
I just want to add something before I go about Zionism. Okay, it's very important because everyone talks about the word Zionism and we misinterpret it. So first of all, WIZO is nowhere to run from. Try traveling the world. We have 38 countries. Running the largest NGO in Israel with 6,000 employees, so that's another resilience. I heard about all the resilience, it's keeping it all going. You know, when you open our projects, they actually run them. And about women's success, so we actually we don't need to come to the table, we've created the table, 100 years. It's run by women, 6,000 women, 6,000, not women, 6,000 employees, 5,100 of them are women, so that's employment. Beside that, we hire the CEOs and we run it. And it's run by World Diaspora too. So it's not friends of WIZO, the federations around the world are part of the doing here. The doing here, remember one thing, everyone. If you talk to the world and you say to them, we in Israel, you are supporting us, we are one, not good. I'll tell you why. Because Zionism, the whole idea they're facing with, was meant to protect Jewish women worldwide, Jewish people worldwide. It's self-definition of Jewish people not to be scared. It's basically a change of consciousness. That's what created the Zionist movement. And the Jews that came here, the Israelis, are Jews that immigrated here. So they're exactly like you. They're not our eighth arm. They're part of us exactly. When someone coughs in Jerusalem, someone in Buenos Aires gets pneumonia. So we have to remember that. It's one. So when we talk about Zionism, all it means is responsibility and a flip of narrative. You're in charge of your own destiny, and we're all in charge as one. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Anat. Thank you for being with us here today.